Welcome to the Please Suck Less podcast, a podcast where one guy shares his views of where the fire service can improve. Thanks for listening. I want to talk about public perception when it comes to the fire service. Everybody that I know has always held the fire service in a fairly high regard. One of the most uh, highly respected positions in society in the United States. Once 9/11 happened, and the massive loss of civilian life, but also the massive loss of firefighter life in New York City, and that number continues to grow with the ground zero cancers and sicknesses that are coming. And make no mistake, those are there's a direct correlation with working at ground zero and our brothers that are still dying to this day. But that's another show in its entirety. But after 9/11, the public really gathered behind us, as they did with the military, but really gathered behind us in the fire service. And as we continued to move past the date of 9/11, you start to see, not so much in the public eye, but more of the political world. And I guess people that are there to make the decisions for the fire service, that whether it be, I don't want to say senior staff of fire and rescue, but we'll go with the political world when it comes to to making decisions and monies and budgeting and things like that for the fire service. That support seems to have waned a little bit, and that's what I want to kind of hone in on right now. Make no mistake, fire rescue personnel are still regarded as one of the most respected positions, whether you're career or volunteer in this country, as it should be, because of the work that we do and the work that we're willing to do. So like I said, after 9/11, the public really rallied behind us. But now I see when fire and rescue departments are going up for budgeting and to make the fire service better, so we can make our training better, because the fire and rescue situations, or all hazards as we call it, is constantly evolving. We're constantly more and more things are being piled on top of the fire department to solve. And with that comes the additional training. We are always training in the fire service. So that's going to cost a little bit of additional money. When it comes to finding the funds, or when it comes to just making things happen, I don't think there's anybody that's more creative than the fire service to make things happen, even if the budget's not there, whether it be on our own time, going and taking training classes on our own time, or coming out of our own personal wallets, buying tools, personal tools for ourselves. I know people that buy Halligans and axes and things like that they keep with themselves, even though that equipment is or should be on the fire apparatus. So, we're very creative when it comes to getting what we need. But I want to kind of hone in on these political figures that just, they would much rather sink hundreds of millions of dollars into the education system, which, don't get me wrong, it's important that we educate our youth, but the amount of money that's being wasted in government, just a fraction of that money for the fire department could go such a long way. I would be willing to go out on a limb and say that when it comes to being fiscally responsible, I think in the fire and rescue service, we're pretty responsible when it comes to the apparatus that we buy, if it's paid for through taxes, through the citizens. The equipment that we use, the gear that we wear, the uniforms that we have, the fire stations that we build. the comforts to making that firehouse our second home. So we're pretty fiscally responsible. It's insulting when you take a modest budget for fire and rescue to the county council or to your local government, your mayor, whatever, and they want to shoot holes into what you're trying to accomplish in the fire service. That we 100% are there to protect the citizens, including those political figures that live in the county or in the borough or the town, the city, whatever. We're sworn to protect. So why wouldn't those political people want the fire service to thrive, to be the best? It should almost be a competition to where we would be able to these political figures, these mayors, these council members, these county executives could brag about how good their fire service is and how well that they protect the citizens. We're sworn to protect people we don't even know. Most of the time, we don't even live in the jurisdictions that we work in. But what I challenge is if there's any political figures that listen to this particular podcast, and I know there's a handful, and it is a small group, but it's growing, of firefighters that are out there that listen to this podcast, challenge your political people to walk a mile in your shoes. Um, when I was in Montgomery County, and I know they do it in Frederick now, where they would have an operations day where they would bring in political figures to come and work as a firefighter at the training grounds. They'd have a bunch of controlled drills and things like that, but they would wear our gear. They'd wear the SCBA. They'd see what it was like to go inside of a fire, climb a ladder, be in a tower ladder and go up, 100 feet in the air, drag the equipment around that we drag. So, what I like to call that is walk a mile in our shoes. And then you would understand how we need to be on top of our game in order to help protect the jurisdiction that we work in, help to protect the citizens that live in that jurisdiction or come to work there or driving through on vacation or what have you. But what these political figures need to understand is that we're not just there to waste money. We're there asking for the money so we can be better trained and be prepared for whatever the 911 call is. And trust me, people call 911 for everything and expect us to show up highly trained with the best gear, ready to mitigate whatever the emergency is. What I ask you is go find the YouTube video of J.J. Watt. J.J. Watt is, and I'm probably going to get it wrong, defensive. I don't know if he was a defensive end or a defensive linebacker for the Houston Texans. And he spent the day in the fire department. A little bit of backstory. His father was a retired firefighter I want to say in Wisconsin. But he spent the day running through the drills and the training, wearing the gear that the firefighters wore. And when it was all said and done, he had a huge new respect for what we already know, go through wearing the gear in the heat to accomplish our jobs. Whole new line of respect. What I challenge is that you get these people that are there that hold the purse strings for our budget to see what we have to go through. Looking at find that video and just watch the video. It's about 7 minutes, and I think it's really good for people that have to walk a mile in our shoes. And here's a guy that makes $100 million, in his contract for playing a game, as my wife would say, to throw a ball all over the place, where you've got police and firefighters and nurses that are, basically putting it out on the line every day for, pennies compared to what a lot of these athletes are making. So go out and find that video and let people see that. But I would also say that get your politicians involved in what you do. Make it so what you do is not a mystery. So when it comes time to ask for money, they understand where it's coming from. And then the last thing that I want to talk about, when we talk about money, they need to understand that fire engines are not cheap. when we got our first enclosed cab Seagrave fire engine at my volunteer house many, many years ago, back in the 80s, I want to say it was about $350 to $400,000. Now a fire engine is going for 1.2 to $1.8 million for a fire engine. I know I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. A ladder truck, well over $1 million. A rescue squad can be pushing $2 million. If you're a volunteer organization, you know that that money's coming from hopefully some grants, maybe money from the state, maybe money from your county, but it's also coming from donations. So you need to make sure that not only is the political figures educated in what you do, but you need to make sure that the public is educated in what you do, and have those open houses or those national night outs or whatever it is. Invite the public, invite the politicians into your firehouse, show them what you do. Let them know the job that we do is hard. It's not easy. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it, but they're not. We are a select breed of crazy, wacky people that flock to this job. It's a true calling. So that's my advice. We need to get the money in our budget. These politicians that are out there that are trying to block every step of the way, they suck. You need to let them know that they're not educated. You need to educate them tactfully. You need to be involved in the political process in your jurisdiction if you are a leader of your organization. They need to understand what it is that we do and why we are asking for the money, why the budget needs to increase every year. Okay? That's all I got to say. Thanks for listening. Remember, if you are the problem, you suck. Your job is to suck less. Do better.